Walton trustees discussed water system updates, including road closure and lead pipe inventory on Monday, May 6th.
Carried. Delaware Engineering, Bill Brown.
Hello.
Good evening.
Couple of things to highlight, and I do have a couple of asks of the board tonight. On the sewer system, we're finalizing the grant with EFC to get reimbursed for the I&I study and work that was done. The repairs were done on Liberty Street earlier this year. And we'll work through closeout paperwork with EFC. The CBUD valve replacement project has been underway for a few months. Some of the parts and pieces have pretty long lead times, but just in touch and base with Shane, some of the valves, the big valves, did come in this past week, so that work will be scheduled, and that's funded by New York City. On the water system, construction did begin this past month on our water system upgrades that have been kind of in the hopper for some time. The work is being funded by EFC, a portion of it being a grant, a portion of it being a loan. The water tank work is kind of one of our central items. Some folks out there, there's 2 water tanks on the hill near White Rock. They're being rehabbed one at a time. Right now the steel tank is being wrapped up. When that's done, we'll be working on the concrete tank. And then there is water pipe being replaced on Route 10. Notices went out 2 weeks ago now to residents on that stretch, and the contractors starting work this week on excavation. So we'll be during the day, we'll have one lane shut down with flaggers out there as the contractor puts the pipe in through that segment.
Construction signs are out.
The signs are going up. We met with DOT last week. They have to have a permit from DOT, obviously, to be in the right of way. So there's a number of protocols to work through, and that's being worked through. The schedule is to have everything done by the end of July before fair for the overall project. So we're in good shape for that at the moment. So all that said, we do have an invoice from Rutledge Excavating, who's the contractor performing the work. They're just over the border into Pennsylvania, the other side of Hancock. The first invoice is in the amount of $234,178.94. That's primarily for the work on the steel tank and then all the materials. So they've rented a site here in town and had the water main and the fire hydrants and the valves and all that kind of stuff delivered so that it can be installed here over the next few weeks. So we have the
Need a motion for that, right?
For that. Yes,
Can I have a
please.
motion for that, please?
Yes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. We'll submit that to EFC with Municipal Solutions. EFC will wire funds to the village to cover that expense, and then once you have cash on hand to cut the check. Curry Well, we are scheduling the final pump test with Fry Well Drilling to be done this month. And then that will be hooked up. There's a paperwork that has to be done through New York State Department of Health and Delaware River Basin Commission. On that backside, a new thing this month, so some of the board members may be aware, some of the public, there's new regulations at the federal level which are trickling down to the state level regarding the lead and copper law. So there's largely as a result of what happened in Flint, Michigan, there are regulations requiring that any lead service lines on public water systems be identified and ultimately replaced. Historically, when we worked on water systems, we work from to the property line. This regulation is requiring that the service all the way into the basement be replaced if it does happen to be lead. So there are timelines that have to be met for initially an inventory to be done, where every water service in the village is inventory to know what type of pipe it is. Most of them are copper, which is good, is okay. Some are other materials in some cases, depending on when they were installed, under what conditions.
I have one quick question to
Yes,
ask.
sir.
The ones, you said every service in the village,
Yep.
and I'm sure some of the people sitting here will have that question too. If right into the basement of the house has to be
Check.
non-lead,
Right.
who pays for that? is the government gonna give us money to subsidize the people? Or are they all gonna be responsible to take care of it?
The water system, today, the water system is responsible, so the village water system is responsible for, replacing if it's lead. If it's just old and worn out, if it's on the private property side, it's the private property owners. If it's a lead service, the regulations, are that it has to be replaced all the way into the
Okay,
basement.
okay, good.
So,
That answers your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
you know, and work
I'm
that's
good.
been done on the
Figure it
water
out.
system, you know, in my tenure here, you know, and in talking with Butch as well, you know, we don't believe there are a lot of lead services in the village, but if there are a handful, now it's a requirement to identify those. So there is funding that the village has been awarded to do that. And report that information to the health department, and then if there are any that are found, you can then seek funding to do that
Okay.
replacement, so.
They're probably, if they are, they're probably very, very old properties, I would imagine.
If a lot of it's when it was built, so if a house was built in a certain time frame when lead pipe was easy to get and was cheaper than copper or some other pipe, if your house happened to be built at that given time, then you may have, you know, a lot of our housing stock predates that, you know, in the village.
But some of it, as I understand, found even service lines made, constructed in the thirties were made out of copper, right? So that's,
Yeah.
I think the only lead pipes that are left in the houses are the gas pipes.
Could be.
Yeah, mine-
We're hoping so.
Yeah, my house is 1901, so yeah, I'm one of the old houses.
You're one of the old ones.
so this grant, that's just for discovery, not for repair.
Correct.
Right.
So, last summer, and, you know, recognizing that this inventory has to be done, so there's 1,200 roughly water services in the village. And we have to know, the village has to know what the pipe is from out at the street all the way into the basement. So if it's one where we've replaced it over time or have a curb card, you know, we know it's copper or, you know, then
It'll
we
be on
know
record,
that.
probably.
But that's, you know, a percentage of that 1,200, not 100% of that 1,200.
We have
So
to
the-
account for every single
We
one.
have to account for every single one, every inch of every single one. So.
As long as they're in a repairing mood, now's the time to do it. Let's get money from there. We need a motion for that, correct?
So there's two parts. So the village was awarded a grant for $640,552 to go towards conducting that inventory. That's to do the paperwork, the research and compile the inventory, and also to hire contractors as needed to do the excavation. If there's a spot where we don't know what the pipe is, we'll have to dig it up or have a contractor dig it up and then confirm it's, you know, copper or, because right now, the way the regulation is, if you don't know, you have to assume it's lead until you prove otherwise. So, that's, the bulk of the funding is associated with assuming we're gonna have to dig up 20, 30, 40% of the services in the village, and that's what this funding
There's a
provides.
Got a
question.
question?
Yes.
This is gonna be a contractor, Butch won't do this as part of the village?
No, it'll be a contract.
Okay.
If you rip up our yard, who fixes it?
The one who ripped it up,
Contractor.
contracted.
Part of the cost.
Okay. I'm just thinking all those flowers I could do.
You try to be systematic about where you excavate to limit, you know, impact on flower beds or, you know, just historic things, but, and if that's an area that has been dug up before.
And your house may be fine, so
Okay,
that,
right.
don't get worried yet until you know that you have a,
He says it's fine, so
it's fine, it's
I'm
good.
going with that.
Okay, so we need two motions or one?
Two motions.
One for the-
There's a motion to, for the mayor to sign the intent to proceed with the grant.
Let's do that one first.
My motion to, that you sign to proceed with the intent.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The other piece of this is a new requirement of EFC, where any work that's, any engineering work that's done, you have to go out for RFQs, request for qualifications, you have to put an ad in the paper, an ad on the contract reporter, and, you know, give an opportunity for others. It does require that the board, you know, so you're asking for proposals from engineering firms, you then have to review those proposals, any that you receive, and score them, and select who you feel is, you know, most appropriate to do the work. So it is a process that EFC requires be conducted.
Score them, what do you mean?
So you're gonna give it a grade, you know, you're gonna get a proposal in, and it's gonna say, this firm has these qualifications. You're gonna review that, and there's a scoring criteria, you know, like in school, you know, you'll score it, and presumably whoever has the highest score is who the board would, award the work to.
Awards work, yeah. Okay,
Oh,
so we need a motion for that.
what am I motioning?
Put the ad in the paper to initiate that
Okay.
RFQ process.
Yes, thank you. Request the village board authorize the clerk to advertise for a request for qualifications for engineering services for the lead services line inventory. I make that motion.
Wow, very good motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Sound professional.
Yay, right? You sit at the wrong table here.
Speaking like we know what you're talking about,
We'll
Peter.
work with Jody and get the ad and
Yes,
stuff.
okay.
To subscribe or advertise, call 607-464-4009.